We got Gators breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC right here live from the Swamp. Post-game episode recap, 55-0. Gators win over LIU. Did this for the first time last year versus Ole Miss after that big win. Hey, comment section, let me know if you can hear me for one thing. It's a new setup, all that good stuff. So I gotta make sure I'm going out there. So help me out there in the comments. Make sure it looks good on my end. So I just need to make sure that we're all good, ready to go. I'm not wasting anybody's, a minute in right now, wasting time. But certainly lots to get into after this first game of the season, this 2025 season, as the Gators beat LIU 55-0. So, offense a little sloppy with the first team offense out there. We'll get into all that, of course. The defense just completely dominating like we probably thought they would. This was a mismatch in the trenches. Not as much on the offensive side as I thought it might be. A concern of mine did show up in this one. But for the defensive side and the trenches on that side of the ball, absolutely was just dominating fashion. They're exactly what you want to see. I mean, one first down in the first half. That was on the first drive for LIU. Another one with about 9 minutes left in the game. So certainly, you got what you wanted to on the defensive side of the ball. To me, it kind of goes in tandem with what we were hearing all fall camp, that the defense was ahead of the offense. And that usually starts out for almost every team. The defense is ahead of the offense. But given Lagway's situation, of course, I think we saw some rust out there. So I was absolutely not surprising to see the defense outperform the offense, especially the first team offense there. And we got an answer at backup quarterback. I'm not sure it's the answer we were expecting, with Tramel Jones coming in to start the second half, and no Aiden Warner, no Harrison Bailey at all. It was all Tramel Jones, and I like that plan. He hasn't played a snap of college football yet. If he's your backup, you get him all the reps. And I know some people were saying, and look, I know it's LIU, but a lot of people are saying, hey, I'm a little more confident now in the backup quarterback spot than I was heading into this game. So that might be the biggest answer we've gotten so far throughout this game. But we're going to go back and recap this game. I'm not going to do drive-by-drive like I normally do. I'm trying to speed this up a little bit. There'll be some interaction with you guys in the comment section and kind of go through the game a bit. So some key things. I'll go through some of the game. Of course, the game tells a story. But drive-by-drive, play-by-play, I don't see it. I don't see the need for it. So it is late, I got to the Swamp about 8:30 this morning, so running on fumes a little bit. But hey, you guys liked this last year when I did it here live from the Swamp. Hey, so hit that like button right here if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're watching YouTube, you're watching Twitter, however you're watching, everybody, go to the YouTube side for me. Hit that like button, subscribe right here on your favorite podcast platform or YouTube, all that good stuff. And I see the comments right here, and I'm going to try and come back, try and involve those as well. So certainly lots to get into, but do got to give a shout out to one of the new sponsors right here for Gators Breakdown this fall. It is Gator Drywall of Duval. You know what's been driving me crazy lately, guys? Yes, I got those outdated popcorn ceilings in my house. So that's why I'm excited to tell you about Gator Drywall of Duval. I've been serving Jacksonville and surrounding areas for 25 years, and I finally scheduled them to come transform my ceiling soon. Brandon and his family run this amazing business with a personal touch. Offer everything you can need, from new construction to repairs, patches, hanging drywall, finishing, sanding, spray texture, popcorn removal. Of course, that's what I'm most excited about. Metal framing and acoustic ceilings. What really sold me was how Gator Drywall of Duval handles all the small details that would normally stress me out. And so I'll definitely be sharing more of my experience once they're done with my play. So if you've been putting off your own home project, now's the time to get in touch with Brandon and bring your project to life at Gator Drywall of Duval. So if you're in the Northeast Florida section, everybody, section of the state, visit gatordrywallofduval.com or call 904-374-9824. All right, so let's get to some kind of thoughts, reactions. Biggest takeaway: DJ certainly rusty. Certainly came out rusty a good bit in this game. You could tell. Maybe no spring reps, maybe no fall reps, but it wasn't just all him. Now there were some throws that he did miss. He wasn't happy with his performance. He wasn't happy with the offense's performance. You go to the post-game press conference, and you could just tell on his face he was not happy at all. And credit to him for showing that moxie, that not going in there all bubbly. You could definitely tell it ate at him a bit how the offense performed when he was out there. So did they eventually kind of get in sync a bit? Yeah, sure. But it's he didn't get a lot of help from the offensive line. I thought there was way too much pressure given up, especially on the play action. That's something that's going to be a hallmark of a Billy Napier offense. But play action, dropbacks, there was a lot of pressure. I had to go back and watch the replay. I want to count, but man, Lagway's feet were moving almost most of his throws because of the pressure that the offensive line was letting up. And I'd stressed, I am high on this offensive line. I'm high on this team in general. But when we started talking about concerns, I did it. It was one of my biggest concerns. I think when we did the Gator panel last week, one thing that I have a question about this team, and it was pass blocking for me. I thought DJ helped them out. Win that winning streak, that 4-game winning streak at the end of the year last year. There was, if there were any other quarterbacks, probably would have been sacks. But DJ's shedding off defenders, knocking guys off of him, and the sack numbers were not there for defenses. They could have been. So my goal for this offensive line in the offseason was, hey, let's get better in pass blocking. And that didn't show up tonight. And it's Long Island. First of all, we all know it's game one. There can be a lot of overreactions to this, but we're going to react to what happened. What does it mean? We don't know. It's only one game. We have no idea what it means. But I will say with a concern that I had coming into this game was the pass blocking of the offensive line, and that showed up. So I don't think Lagway was ever comfortable in this game. So we saw him toss three touchdown passes. Let's go to the stats here. Let me pull those up. But was really, I was just really surprised at the pressure that was in Lagway's face most of the night. But he does finish today 15-18 for 120 yards, 3 touchdowns, 83% completion percentage, 194.3 rating. But of course, some of those, a lot of screens, not much down the field. Had the wonderful. We're going to turn this back around a little bit to something that really, really impressed us. VB3, Vernell Brown III. Absolutely the stud at wide receiver as a freshman that we thought he could be, and I think we saw it early in that wonderful one-handed catch, but it was kick return, punt return, and him. There was that one pass Lagway missed him on, the drag route over the middle. Man, that would have been another big play by Vernell Brown III, but he goes for 3 catches, 79 yards, had that 41 yarder. That was the long 26.3 average there. He was targeted 5 times, but certainly made his presence felt as a true freshman, and the first freshman at wide receiver since Antonio Callaway, I believe, getting the start in his first game. So big kudos to Vernell Brown III. Trey Wilson, man, 5 catches, -4 yards, was used a lot in that screen game that did not go anywhere. When DJ Lagway was out there at quarterback with Trey Wilson, he did end up catching a touchdown pass, of course. I believe the first one, that long out route there in the end zone. So, but overall, that first team offense, I just thought was kind of lackluster a little bit, given the expectation that we've put on them. So can some of it be chalked up to Lagway rust? Absolutely. But I do think going back to the offensive line part, I did, and I see Keith in here, our right tackle need to tighten up. It was Bryce Lovett out there in his first starts at right tackle, and you probably could tell a bit. And then Billy Napier did say in the post-game press conference, and we'll see how much it means moving forward. But he did say, hey, LIU showed some things that they have not put on tape. They have not put on tape before. We didn't see it. It was a new scheme, and it really did throw our guys off a bit. And they did settle down a bit, but okay. I mean, our other defense is going to do that same thing as well. So I think it's just something we will see down the road. I don't think it's hit panic button for the offensive line, even though it was a concern of mine that did show up. I just think with the rustiness of Lagway, putting that together. I know a lot of people mentioned play calling as well. Could it have been better? We all know it was going to be a vanilla game plan anyway. This was always about execution for me. This game was about execution, and I just don't think it was there at the high level we wanted it to be for the first team offense. Most of their time out there, got bailed out by some penalties, turnovers, and hey, we even go back to the beginning of the game. How about that defense? Very first drive. Oh, there we go. We get the wonderful scoop and score, get the big turnover. LIU had a first down in 2 plays. They were runs. Most of their plays were runs. Very next play, hey, well, that was quick. Jaden Robinson, George Gums, right there, causes fumble, scoop and score for Bryce Thornton. It was 7-0 Gators, a minute and a half into the game. exactly what you want to get. And then the defense just goes out there and it's 3 and out for LIU the rest of the way in the first half. But it took a while for us to get to the offense. But because of that, no Caleb Banks out there, no Pup Howard, no LJ McCray, no Aiden Mizell, no Dallas Wilson, no Khalil Jackson. Mizell kind of the only really surprise there. Pup a little bit as well. We'll see when he comes back. But Caleb Banks, I'd expect back next week. We'll see about the others. But just kind of the, We'll see what that means for the offense, that first team offense with the play calling. That's going to be the thing that gets scrutinized the most. For me, it's going to be the offensive line. We knew the game plan was going to be vanilla the whole time against this team. Good run blocking. That's not a big concern. Jaden Ball, goes out there and look at his stats. Certainly what you want to see in the run game. 9 attempts, 104 yards, 1 touchdown, almost 12 yards a carry. There for Jaden Ball. Jacoby Jackson, 7 attempts for 24 yards, 3.4 yards a carry. So Jaden Ball really, along at 26, as I said. So certainly saw what you wanted to see from Jaden Ball. 9 carries though, 9 carries. But Lagway, like I said, 3 attempts. He had to run. No design runs, of course. There didn't need to be any, but 3 attempts, probably 3 too many in my mind because of the offensive line. Not holding up enough for him to, I think, get in the groove and go. So, VB3 was the first true freshman to start a game once since Jawan Taylor in 2016. Like I said, the first receiver since Antonio Callaway. But Lagway was sacked on the very first play. I think he kind of did have some time there. I want to go back and watch the replay, but you go back and watch that first play. I thought he did have some time. I didn't really get to see its receivers recover. I think he did have Hayden Hansen open on a check down maybe. So, we'll see. You could tell from the very beginning that was probably what the offensive line, that was our first indication. I won't say we could tell from there, but that was our first indication that, hey, it may not be not to write home about for pass blocking along the offensive line. So, like I said, Napier said after the game, LIU showed some new scheme they haven't shown before. Lagway admitted it was sloppy, not on brand for how they should have played. Said he didn't get into his flow state. Zach Alberti asked him about that, but you can tell really disappointed in his performance was Lagway in that post-game presser. So, but then, hey, Tramel Jones comes in the second half, and kudos to him. He looked confident. He looked poised. I thought he showed confidence on those throws. First confidence to be in there. True freshman, your first game action. And they come out there, let him sling it. He goes out there and he goes 12 of 18 for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. But I liked it, and I liked that they stuck with him. Aiden Warner's had the game reps. Harrison Bailey's had the game reps. If Tramel Jones has won the backup job, give him all the reps in this. He needs them. He needs them. He's a true freshman. Give him all the snaps he needs. So certainly encouraged by what I saw from him, and definitely a little surprising now. I wouldn't have been surprised if he would have been the backup along the way at some point in the season, but game one, and there's where some of the fall camp intel, we wonder what's true coming out of fall camp, and it was Tramel Jones's, really coming along. He might be fighting for that backup job. How much was we going to believe that? Well, this game, I think, showed us there was a lot to believe there, that Tramel Jones can be the backup, and maybe be the backup from here on out. But kudos to him. I thought, very confident, throwing down the seam, throwing down the middle. I don't think a lot of true freshmen sometimes trust themselves to throw over the middle where coverage is. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens when competition ramps up. Hopefully, Lagway's in and the offense is humming, and when he's in, it's with a comfortable lead or something like that. But I do think some of the people out there, hey, I did see it in the Discord on Gators Breakdown Plus. Hey, if Lagway has to go out for some time, I feel better about what I saw from Tramel Jones moving forward. I saw that thought. I saw that thought out there a lot. Big, just a lot, just a big kudos to him for being ready. Sorry, guys, you can probably hear it, my voice. Let me get a swallow of water here. Okay. Going down the rushing stats, Anthony Rubio, of course, 5 attempts, 27 carries there. But, some of the younger guys on offense in the rushing game got in, but mostly Ball, Jackson there in the first half. Of course, Katie Daniels, who, man, he was a guy I was picking just because I thought he'd have plenty of chances in this game to get it going, and not necessarily 4 attempts. Nick Delatorre just walked in from behind me. But receiving, you had 15 receivers catch a ball tonight, 27 catches. See you, Nick. For 251 yards, but Trey Wilson led the way with it's the craziest stat you'll see. If you would have given me the stat before the game, 5 catches for Trey Wilson, negative 4 yards. Wouldn't have guessed that one. I would not have guessed that one. Really surprised that he couldn't get going. A lot of people said, hey, what Trey Wilson can do, Vernell Brown III was kind of taking advantage of. When he get the ball in the short yardage situations, he was making things happen. Yeah, that was true. That absolutely was true. I saw it in the chat. I know I'm going everywhere in this. No penalties for the Gators, and no major injuries that I know either, but no penalties. So clean game played by the Gators. But yeah, with the receiving stat, Hayden Hanson with 3 catches for 27 yards, Abrams 2 for 53. Then you have Montgomery, Livingston, J. Michael Sturdivant 2 for 7. Touchdowns go to Trey Wilson, Livingston, Sturdivant. Sturdivant's, man, it was a nice little throw by Lagway there. It was kind of definitely back shoulder. Sturdivant had to turn around to catch it. But it was kind of like a low back shoulder. Defender was kind of in between Lagway and Sturdivant. Sturdivant comes down with the touchdown catch anyway. So I thought a great concentration catch by him there in the end zone. So kind of going through a little bit. I thought the drive of the game, if we want to go there, 150 left before halftime. And that's the drive that was capped off by Sturdivant. Lagway to Hanson over the middle for 7 yards. And then the next play, you had defensive pass interference on Long Island down the field. So I'm saying there's a lot of these scoring opportunities for Florida in that first half aided by penalties or, great field position. Florida had the ball at their own 47, another penalty. So it was 1st and 5 at the LIU 48. Lagway drops back. He had pressure in his face again. And then that was a downfield catch to VB3. Down to the 8-yard line. Couple runs, lose yards. That was another thing. As good as the offensive line was run blocking, not so good in the red zone. I thought they kind of lost their way in the red zone. And this was a drive that did it right before halftime. Like I said, you got down to the 8. You had a couple of runs lose yards, so you end up 3rd and 7. 16 seconds left in the first half. Lagway to J-Mac in the back of the end zone where, like I said, J-Mac had to twist around with the catch, almost like a low back shoulder. That made it 38-0 Florida heading into halftime. It was a 6-play, 75-yard drive, 140 time of possession. So, got the ball, 150. You got to see a 2-minute time touchdown. All right, you got 2 minutes before halftime. Let's go score. And Florida was able to do that. Like I said, aided by the penalty there. And then one more. Trace Mack. Little up and down. 3 misses, so that was the down. But the one make he had was, 56 yards. And then he missed a 57-yarder later on in the game. But missed from 40, made from 56, missed from 39, good from 41 yards out, and then the 57-yarder missed there as well. So 2 for 5, Trace Mack. So certainly got to get him back in a groove. We know he can have those up and down moments, but certainly got to get him back. Got to get him back in the groove there. Florida's defense, Miles Graham led the way with 5 total tackles, 4 of them being solo. He had 1 tackle for loss. Cam James, 5 tackles as well. He had a half tackle for loss. Just no sacks, but that's because Long Island was just completely running the ball. They weren't going to do much. They had, let's see. First of all, 86 total yards for Long Island, 37 rushing yards. They had 32 rushing attempts. 32 rushing attempts for 37 yards. They ran 43 total plays to Florida's 74. So 43 total plays, 32 of them were rushing attempts. They gained 64 yards and lost 27. Their net passing yards was 49. No red zone attempts, of course. Almost scored there in the fourth quarter. Florida stops them on 4th down. But Florida, 7 tackles for loss. 2 quarterback hurries. No sacks because just wasn't really an opportunity to do so. 1 of 12 on 3rd down was Long Island. Florida 7 of 13. Let's go to the first half. Because that's Florida starters are in at that point. It was 38-0 at halftime. Florida wins 55-0. 243 total yards at halftime to 36 for Long Island. Florida had 18 rushing attempts for 6.8 yard average. 123 rushing yards. Like I said, 15 to 18 for 3 touchdowns in the first half. No penalties for Florida. Long Island had 9. Florida was – this was, one reason I wanted to go back to it. I remember the first half stat and looking at it, not too happy here. 3rd down in the first half, 2 of 5. 2 of 5, 40% there. 6.8 yards of play for the Gators. 15-42 time of possession. 1 of 3 on field goals. But Long Island 0 of 6 on 3rd down. 2 of 5 passing for 20 yards. So domination in the first half. All game by the defense. It's a kind of the roller coaster on offense a bit. A rusty Lagway, an offensive line that just wasn't where it needed to be, in my opinion. Am I being too harsh there? Maybe it's game 1, but I didn't like what I saw there. I mean, defense. I don't know how much more we can say about what they did. I mean, those guys were just flying around everywhere. Jaden Robinson, there at linebacker. Good for him, getting in there as well with Pup not playing. But they just dominated up front. Not much to write home about the safeties or the cornerbacks, because Long Island not really passing all that much. So it wasn't really and I knew this coming in. This was a team that was going to zone read you to death. They weren't going to pass all that much. But hey, Brandon Bett, no Caleb Banks early in the game. Brendan Bett, only 3 total tackles, but he was very active in the beginning of the game. I like what I saw from him. Very active up front. Certainly like what I saw from the Baylor transfer Brendan Bett. But I saw somebody put it in the in the comments section. Hey, Devin Moore had 2 total tackles, and Devin Moore's healthy coming out of this game. So Muddy Water says, every time I see Devin in on a tackle, I scream no. Yeah, I was wondering about that myself. I know he had the starters for defense played, kind of right after halftime. I thought they might have pulled the starters, but they were still out there. And still, but yeah, I get you. I get you there. Brian says defense looked like they just kept rolling from last year. Yeah, certainly. If there was one aspect I was pretty confident on, that was going to be that side of the ball in this matchup, and that certainly showed up. Oh, man, what a crazy day in college football, huh? I hope y'all didn't listen to me on these big games. I picked Texas, Ohio State wins. I certainly picked Alabama, Florida State wins. Controls that game mostly. I picked Clemson, LSU wins that game. So do not listen to me. Hopefully that does not bode negative for our Gators, because me being so high on Florida coming into this year. This big games, I did not do so well today. Look, and I know I wasn't alone. I put that in the Discord saying, hey, I picked these teams. And there was a lot of replies that, hey, I did too. So, man, it was not a good day for me. Not a good day picking ball games. Kind of makes you wonder, though. We don't really learn a whole lot about Florida against LIU. And I don't want to overreact to one game here in the swamp with Florida versus LIU, but also Texas and Ohio State. Now, what I do think is, if Arch Manning is supposed to be the guy, that guy, he don't play like he did in Columbus. I don't care how good Ohio State's supposed to be. If Arch is supposed to be the guy, that was not it today. So Texas, maybe not as – the SEC, not a good day. LSU gets that game over Clemson, so good win for the SEC there. But with Bama losing, Texas losing, that was people thought were 2 of the top 3 teams in the conference. We'll see what it all means big picture-wise. LSU – big win on the road at Death Valley and at Clemson. I don't know if that makes us feel any different about them or not. Like I said, I picked Clemson, but does that make – I'm talking about when they line up to play Florida and LSU. Do you feel any different about LSU after them beating Clemson? I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't. But not a good day. Not a good day for this big game, SEC big games. Muddy Waters said, I was worried about defensive tackle depth after losing Big Dez, Cam, Jaden Collins, but these guys look big and ready. Makai Burrow out there too, looking pretty active. And like I said, Brendan Bett, I like what I saw. I like what I saw from those young guys out there. Jeremiah McLeod getting a lot of playing time as well, like he should have in this game. Javari Flowers had a nice tackle for a freshman late in the game. So I'm trying to remember what play that was. Oh, yeah, when LIU got their first – so that was – LIU was driving. And they had that first down since the first drive of the game. It came about like 9:15 left in the game. They gained 28 yards on a 3rd and 7 from their own 42 and got down to Florida's 30-yard line. So, crossed midfield for the very first time. That was like 9:15 left in the game. Like I said, their previous best was 12 yards on their first drive of the game. So later it was 4th and 2. So, of course, LIU's going forward. It's late in the game. And Javari Flowers knocks the ball loose on a low throw, but catchable right there by LIU. So good play by him. So you saved the shutout right there. 6:30 left in the game at that point, but good play by the young freshman there, Javari Flowers. Go to some comments here. Landon says that we forced 2 fumbles. Yeah, of course. Yep, the first one and the very first drive, and for the fourth, forced 2 fumbles. That's on the official stat sheet as well. Or had 2 fumble recoveries. So it was only 1 forced fumble, it said, but 2 fumble recoveries. So I'm trying to remember the other one. I don't remember off the top of my head. Maybe it wasn't a forced fumble. I don't know. I know. Like I said, this is kind of doing it here. This is I don't have 2 screens set up. I just got the laptop in my. So it's kind of was more of a chat, kind of just general thoughts. Certainly haven't watched a replay of the game or anything. And a game like this is kind of hard. JLB says, hello, Dave. Great to see you on. Not sure if you mentioned it, but the 11 tackles for loss for Florida were an awful stat for the O-line. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. Tackles for loss, for LIU right there. They had 11 of their own for minus 29 yards. So, it's for the group. It was a group that started slow last year at the offensive line and eventually found their way, especially in the run blocking area. Thought did okay in that area tonight, but certainly I've got to see better pass blocking. And got USF coming into town next week, and we saw what they did to Boise. They had an attacking style of defense. I thought they played pursuit very well. They were pretty tenacious on defense. So tenacious D, huh? But so they're amped up for that game. Florida will have to play better. I'm still not all that worried about that game, and maybe I'm eating my words this time a week from now. So Florida gets this game out from under them for the first time in the Billy Napier era. You open up with a cupcake. I'm kind of glad that it worked out that way, given the Lagway circumstance. And look, we knew that coming into this game, but also seeing how it played out. It played out perfectly not to be having this big opponent, because with the way this offensive line started, with the way Lagway started, if you were playing a pretty name opponent, now we don't know. It could go all different. For me, this is the first game of the season. You should be excited to play. It was more, like I say, it was more about execution for me, and I didn't see that. And it's not nitpicking. DJ Lagway wasn't happy with it. Napier wasn't happy with how the team came out and the first team offense came out. So it's not me nitpicking. It's not doing this or that, complaining or anything like that. What do we take away from the game? And this first team offense just wasn't there where it needed to be. Did they put up points? Sure. Some turnovers. Some aided by penalties. But when they were in position, they put getting in the red zone, they put points on the board. But we know we got to see better execution moving forward. Before we even get to the play calling part of it, I know many of you out there ain't happy about that too. But given the opponent tonight with LIU, I'm more disappointed in the execution than anything for that first team offense. I'm equally as happy about what I saw from defense. How much did we learn about Florida's defense? That is a good question. I don't think I learned anything new about them. Kind of maybe going to that point. Maybe that depth, that defensive line, not. We didn't get our answer on that tonight, but I like what they showed. Better than the alternative. But for defense, I just think that what I did learn was they lived up to my expectation, the high expectation I was putting on them, and they kind of just picked up where they left off from last year. That was good to see. And we've seen no matter who Florida plays in the past on that side of the ball. Now, don't get me wrong. This was a huge, complete mismatch. This is the worst team Florida's ever played in Swamp in our modern Gator football history. So they played like they should have on defense. We'll see what that means moving forward, but at least job one is done. I'm going to try to get some comments. That can kind of keep the conversation going. Keith comes in, and Keith, man, hey, good seeing you. Good seeing you at the tailgate. Hey, speaking of the tailgate, but let me go to Keith's part here. Pass protection was iffy at times tonight. Certainly it was. But if you were watching the broadcast, you got to see Harmonic Woods featured on the telecast. Jay, the play-by-play guy for the game tonight, reached out to me and said, hey, we want to do this feature called Random Fandom. Probably a conflict of interest for you, but do you know anybody? I said, well, certainly I know somebody. And you guys out there, you've been at Harmonic Woods yourselves or you've seen it on social media, but we have a good time. And Mayor's out there every Saturday morning setting up for this tailgate at 6 o'clock in the morning. And he's a diehard Gator. So, yeah, I said, yeah, I got somebody for you. His name's Mayor, Robin Martin. He bleeds orange and blue. He'd be a great feature. So ESPN came to the tailgate today. They talked to me. They talked to Mayor. They talked to everybody at the tailgate. They saw us do Thunderstruck. They saw us do orange and blue cheer. I mean, it was a great time. So I was glad if you watched the telecast. I know my phone was blowing up, social media was blowing up. Hey, Dave, you were just on ESPN. We saw you talking to the broadcasters of the game, and it was like, yeah, that was it. It was a good time. So I'm glad we got that set up. But Keith was at the tailgate today. Good seeing him. Casual Carolina fishing, yeah. O-line allowed 11 tackles for loss tonight. That's pathetic against this team. It was. I did not like it. I'm trying to move on to something else, though. Let's see. Andrew Ruskin. Jones probably has the highest ceiling of the backups for sure. Yeah. I agree with that. I'm still surprised it got this far that quick, though. Credit, like I said, and credit to him. Credit to the staff, too, for giving him that opportunity in fall camp to prove himself to take it this far. Sometimes, I think coaches get pigeonholed into, all right, that's the freshman. We got sixth year, right, in Harrison Bailey. Aiden Warner played for us last year. He's got some experience in the system. And maybe, all right, the true freshman gets pigeonholed. And no, don't forget now, Tremel Jones is coming off of an injury. He didn't play last year, senior year, in Mandarin, right down the road from where I live. And I was excited to see him. He was committed to Florida State for a while, of course, and flips to Florida. But just as a Jacksonville guy, I was excited to see him play, and we didn't get to see it. But certainly credit to the coaching staff for giving him the chance to prove himself and him taking and so far running with it. I mean, I think this is what it means, that he will be the backup from here on out. But maybe it's a weekly competition. If he doesn't have a better week of practice in Harrison Bailey or Aiden Warner coming up, does that still mean he's the backup? We got to get some more clarification on that maybe from Billy Napier on Monday, or I can ask him that in the teleconference next week. But I do completely agree with you, Andrew, that the ceiling is probably higher at this backup spot. Let's not forget now, how many yards did he run for? He had 5 carries for 14 yards, long and 9. So it wasn't necessarily going to wow you, but it was escaping pressure. It was, if nothing was there, he was, not going to take the sack. He was willing to try and get away from it. So, and not running backwards, trying to take useless loss of yardage or big time sacks to, all that like young quarterbacks can do. I thought he showed great poise as a true freshman. And one more time, just credit to the staff in another way for just having another quarterback ready. We still want to see the ceiling of DJ Lagway, and we think we will, and that it can be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But the development of Graham Mertz, in the last couple of years to be better than he was at Wisconsin, and him to be kind of, if the defense had been better, Florida wins a lot more games, the last couple of years, especially the beginning of last year. With Miami, Texas A&M, and games before that. But Graham Mertz was, ready to go, to be a competent quarterback. DJ Lagway was able to come off the bench and be a competent quarterback. Now, not so much Aiden Warner last year. We saw it, but that's where this comment comes in about the ceiling of the backup quarterback. Well, have another quarterback here. That's one game, and it is LIU. But kind of going to a lot of the comments, a lot of people are sharing out there. They do feel a little more comfortable in the ceiling of Tramel Jones. Keith, yeah, they were at the beginning of the game, pretty much. Not many wide receiver screens, and not shockingly. It started that way. There were a lot early on with Lagway and Trey Wilson, and but they did go by the wayside after a little bit. Seemed like once they settled down. Christian Jones says play calling was probably to try and get Lagway acclimated. Play calling got better last couple of drives, and also when Jones was playing. It did. It did. Andrew Ruskin again, run the ball, balling. But yeah, he certainly looked like a man amongst boys, like he should have. And the physical parts in this game, not all of them. I hate to keep harping on the offensive line, but Jaden Ball and the defensive line. Those physical aspects of the game showed up like we thought they would. Jordan chimes in. Dave is leading the way for the most accurate questioning and pressers. I did have to ask Napier about it. He did bring up the LIU showing something new, and I was like, well, I had to follow back up around on that. I was like, we noticed Lagway couldn't set his feet. Lagway was running a bit, and so was it those new things LIU was showing that caused the offensive line to not be in sync like we thought they'd be? Were they confused? I mean, I want to go back and watch. I'm going to go back and look, and maybe you guys already know the answer here, but how many times was Lagway throwing with his feet set? And I thought there was some nice move up in the pocket throws, but the straight drop backs and just let it go. I don't remember seeing too many of them. Harrison Sanchez, practice matters. Was a game to shake the rust off. USF will tell us a lot. It will tell us a lot. I do agree. That game will tell us a whole lot. I like what I saw from the defense tonight. We'll get more of an answer next week on that. And then for the offense, it's, all right, is this game an aberration? Q-Ware, love it, look bad at the pass blocking. We were excited for the 4 or 5 starters returning, and we go and you do kind of pinpoint the new starter tonight, and that's where a lot of the struggles came. It was Bryce Lovett. Is he playing 100%? He played a lot last year, but of course it was at guard. He needs those game reps at tackle. I think tonight showed that. Shows that he needs to be out there with those reps. All right, let's go into the comments. Sam Adams, USF could make it tough for about a half. That might be what it looks like now. To me, it'll be about, with the first team offense, can they be explosive next week? If the pass blocking is going to be like what we saw, then I think the explosiveness of this offense is not going to be where we would want it to be. I won't necessarily say need it yet. I still think you can beat USF by ground and pound. But I think if we want the explosiveness of this offense to be where we want it to be, and they're going to be based off of play action. And that's what almost every time Florida tried to run a play action pass with Lagway, there was pressure in his face. There was not a lot of time to launch back and throw it. So I know when people were complaining about the play calling, I was like, well, they're trying to call some of the deep balls. There's just no time to throw it. And I think that's why we saw probably a little more screens early on than we wanted to. I think probably trying to get Long Island out of whatever new look that they were showing the Florida offense. Jordan says we let up too early on the run. Could have been ugly. Those passes would have been free. I guess they, probably wanted to work on the passing game. Kempo Karate, same boring plays. Kind of expected that this game. Honestly, like I said, just go execute. Just go execute. I do want to see it open a little bit more. And I thought Astute Alligator on X, love his follows, love his tweets. Something else I'm going to be looking out for. He said you could tell Lagway was a little more comfortable in the more open sets. So something else to go back and watch the replay for. Little bacon bit. Looks like you got the stadium backdrop again. Hope they keep letting you use it. Yeah, I'm in the away team AD booth. So there we go. LIU AD booth right here. Rolling X. O-line is a limiting factor on this team. It was today. You're right. It still could be. It was one of my biggest concerns now was the pass blocking. Where was Jamari Lyons? Dougie, he was out there. I saw him out there. Gator Rich, 24, front seven played really well, but the secondary was challenged in a way by a very below average passing game. Too many open receivers for me. I didn't get that out of it. You're not going to completely shut them down. They had one first down in each half. So now there was one drop I remember that they were open on, but I don't know. That didn't. It was not as noticed by me, I guess. Alexander, what's up, man? Want to know is expected against very inferior opponent. Good warm up, lots to improve. Sure hope we are taking USF seriously. Definitely should have opened some eyes in beating Boise. I know it was a long conversation there. If you could forgiven USF any kind of props the other night, that you were somehow downing UF at the same time. I didn't get that thought. I just said, hey, South Florida, you're all grabbing some attention. Certainly, of course they are. They just beat Boise State. Number 25, or ranked 25th. Either way, if even Boise State wasn't ranked, it's USF beating Boise State. Now, were they somehow overrated Boise State after Ashton Jeanty goes on to the NFL? Probably the case. But nationally televised game, it's on ESPN. USF plays good. They get a win. Of course, they're going to get the attention. Didn't mean anything about Florida at the time. But it should have gotten Florida's attention. You are completely right. So it is certainly take the game serious. I don't think Florida has to play their best to win. They can not have to play their best to win. But I want to see Florida play their best. After today, I want to see a more complete game. And you do it against that type of caliber of opponent, you start feeling even better about, where this team is heading into LSU. But it's certainly, I think now you look at the game a little differently because if Florida plays really well, it's like, okay, well, maybe USF's a little better than we thought, so it's an even better win. That game's going to be interesting, breaking it down this week. I'll have Seth Varnador on, who covers Florida, of course, and USF. Couldn't have a better guest on, who knows both teams really, really well. So we'll get into that one later on. Okay. Let me scroll. Ooh, a lot of comments. Okay, I can't even catch up. Muddy Waters. Dave, did you see Woody Page tweet and trash Florida, made fun of their scheduling cupcakes and call Florida soft? Guess he didn't see the rest of the schedule. One of the last people I would ever take their opinion on of college football is Woody Page, by the way. Most of their national guys, they don't care about college football. It is NFL, it's NBA, and that's about it. College football's got their coverage for ESPN and the game day crew, people who cover strictly college football. Woody Page would be about the last person I ever listened to about college football, anything about Florida. But yeah, that lets you know right there. He does not pay attention to college football. Everybody has talked about how hard Florida's schedule is. If he's going to trash Florida for playing LIU, then get out of here. I don't want to hear you talk college football ever again. Okay. Let's see. Ontario Richard Music says, I think we'll get more of the actual offense next week. I expect a vanilla offense against the FCS team. Sure. Yep. That's what I said. Just execute better. Just execute better. Okay. Harrison, did Westfall dress tonight? He did not. He missed the game as well. Didn't include him in the injury report earlier on. So we'll see. I think it might be some time before he gets back. Hopefully Caleb Banks back next week. I definitely want to see this defensive line at full strength next week. Get him some reps before you go to LSU. Muddy Waters, yeah, another one here. One player I'm ready to move on from is Waits. Guy's so huge, but soft in run blocking. Napier guy says he followed him from Louisiana, rotates him every other drive. He has not progressed at the level I thought he might coming over, especially, the kind of development of this staff and the offense. I mean, his offensive line struggled just in general. Singling one player out, but there's a guy that has been here, and we just have yet to see a breakthrough for him along the offensive line. And tonight didn't do much in showing that he's ready to take the next step. Brian, any news on Aaron Gates? No. Did something happen in the game I missed? Maybe. Not that I know of. I would maybe kept him limited tonight. Did he record any? Yeah, one tackle. So he did record a stat, but is there something more there that you're wondering about? Did he come off the field or anything like that? I'm not sure. Okay, not really sure there. Nicholas says, seems like VB3 is always open. He's going to be good. We got a good one there. Watching Pac-12 after dark and hearing Dave's post-game takes. Football is back. What is that? It's Utah and UCLA, right? Since we're live here, just forgive me because I do want to know the score of that game. I wanted to listen to it on the way home. I got to drive back to Jacksonville tonight. That my game might be over with by the time I get out of here. Man. So, no, it's not a top 25 game. What's the score? Fresno State 42 to Georgia Southern 14. What in the world, Eagles? What in the world? Fresno State did not look good last week. Washington State 7-0 over Idaho. Let me see. Utah 23-7 and Washington 14-7. But all right, Utah might be back. And Nico Project at UCLA. That's 23-7 at halftime. Nico at UCLA not off to a hot start. Not off to a hot start. Harrison Nashon did play. He got one of the end around carries, one of the sweeps, I believe, when he was in there. But yeah, I saw him out there. Okay. It's not a whole lot to break down about this one. Maybe I was all over the place. I don't know if you guys like the style of the coming live from the press box. It's a little different. It's kind of right after the game, so it is a little more takes. It is a little more, looking at the stats. Hopefully you like it. Yeah, no penalties, guys. I see it in there in the comments. No penalties. How many times have we seen just, no matter who Florida plays to, just a sloppy start? All right, guys. Thank you so much. About an hour right here. Gotta drive back to Jacksonville tonight. So, man, looking like getting home about 2:00, right? Whew. I'll be okay. Listen to the second half of this game if I can get back to the truck in time. But everybody, thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening right here live from the swamp as Florida demolishes Long Island 55-0. Ready to see what this team brings to the table next week against USF. We'll talk about it all week. Will Miles and I would be back together Tuesday night. We're going to enjoy Labor Day, but we will be back together Tuesday night. I will have a Gators Breakdown Plus chat on Sunday night, by the way. So if you're not a member yet, go there. We'll have a chat. And I'm sure a lot of this stuff will be talked about again. But then me and Seth Barnador later on in the week previewing Florida and USF and the Wednesday episode with Sponge as well. So, hey, guys, football season will be certainly – I'm going to try and do this after every home game. And then it'll be live from the house for the away games. So we're here. We're here, guys. We're here. All right, everybody. That will do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. Thank you so much for live in the swamp. Guys and girls out there, check you on the next episode of Gators Breakdown.